Welcome back to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. I'm Coach Gino, and alongside is Super Coach, Coach Ken. Super Coach, what good things are happening in your world?
Well, for all of you, please keep America safe for capitalism and start that journey by reading Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. That's your literal lesson for today.
A soon fast follow should probably be Atlas Shrugged. Myself and I were just talking about this morning and applying it to what's going on in the world over the last few years and at different times. And that book is it's
Timeless,
eerie
timeless.
how it just relates.
Yeah, it's one of the universal principles between the producers and the moochers. Depends on what you want to be, or the river of tears, or the producer.
Yep,
So
no doubt.
remember, your philosophy creates your future. Your history is about your past. If you would like to create a very, very successful future, you need it rooted in a very strong philosophy. And the philosophy of Rand will help you build that strong foundation.
Yep. And that leads into our conversation today, right? We want to talk about mastery. Mastery. So it's been a topic, really, especially for us in the forefront of our minds over the last week or so, right? With our coaches retreat and some of the things we've done personally to pursue and dig into mastery. Super Coach, let's talk about mastery.
Let's do it. Well, there's this idea that iron sharpens iron. And that's even a biblical statement. Iron sharpens iron. And there's a benefit that what all of the coaches have done in this last week or so is that we all got together and we went on a bit of a journey of getting new context, good conversations, or there's this concept called satsang, good people, good conversations, good food, good drink. And it's amazing how conversation can get elevated when you're around A-level people and getting results.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. And I also add to that a lot of learning too.
A lot of learning. Yes, we toured the MFA. We had an art history tour. We did cold plunges in steam rooms, a Russian bathhouse. We went to an old school boxing gym and got to literally be in the presence of a master, being an Olympiad coach who coached boxers in the Japan Olympics. They won both the silver and bronze medal, but just being, when you are in the presence of a master, and it's not something to be taken lightly. And because it shows up in everything that they do, in how they move, and how they speak. This was definitely Marco's domain. And so we're going to continue to work this conversation in mastery about your practice, about your business. And we're also going to open up an interesting conversation of, okay, if any of you are saying, well, I want to be a master financial advisor, cute, but there are many facets to being a financial advisor. Can try to make a distinction of, okay, which part of that do you truly want to pursue greatness in? And then what is the structure to do that?
And by the way, if you listen to our podcast on the 4 phases of a financial advisor's business, that third phase, so it's surviving, thrival, and then mastery is that third one. And that's where, you take it to the next level. So Super Coach, what would be considered mastery in this case for a financial advisor listening in? What would that look like?
That's a great distinction. So mastery is that you understand who your client is. You have a strong understanding of your systems and your services. You know what your client service model is. You have a great onboarding process. You even have a great offboarding process. Your staff is dialed in, whether you're doing weekly meetings, stand-up meetings, right there. There is just a flow and harmony to your business. There's an interesting thing, Gino, as I'm thinking about this. Okay, how do I know that I've reached a level of mastery? I think if you walk into your shop and simply notice, right? Notice it, notice how it makes you feel. Is it a place of impeccable order? Is there a flow and a harmony present? Or is it chaos? Is it like an emergency room, 911, and things are going this way, stacks of paper here, there, and everywhere? As I'm reflecting on this, I think a great example, if someone just wants to go get a small taste of this and begin to play with it, is go to your local Starbucks and sit there for 45 minutes and just watch the people run the shop. You'll notice that's a very complicated piece of business. There's a lot of moving parts there. Right? There's customers coming in and out. They got their fancy headsets on. They're doing their half cap double lattes with the Appalachian cream sauce and all the other strange stuff. But there's an amazing feel of harmony and precision. They know what they're doing there. Now, some of you may not like that example, but mastery can also be set up in, like when we went to the MFA, or Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, is that you can see the paintings. Now, what I was especially inspired were the impressionists, right? Because in an impressionist, like on the Monets, the guys who just did dots, you go close to those paintings, you're like, this is a mess. Like, what in the heck is this? But if you step back, you get distance and you get perspective. Oh my God, suddenly it all makes sense. And to me, I'm like, oh my God, how do you paint that? Because painting, you're required to be close to the canvas. You can't be 15 feet away while you're painting. But
Hmm.
what an amazing example of mastery.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just like all of a sudden, it's almost like your eyes were blurred, and then you back up, and all of a sudden, everything came into focus, right? What wasn't there, all of a sudden appears and comes into there, right?
Suddenly was there.
Yeah. And a couple things that you just mentioned that I think also is so when you think about that Starbucks thing, many of those are run by, I don't know,
Young kids,
teenagers, right?
kids, yeah,
Moms, right? Dads that are doing a part-time gig, but then also,
college students.
yeah, and then how, think of a really, we're going back to the mastery in the businesses. One of the things I think we've always said is, do you even, if you cannot have to be there and you're not there and everything runs super smooth and right on point, you could be there. You don't even have to be there for a week or two and nothing, no one misses a beat. That's mastery.
Well, that's next level stuff because you are no longer the hub of the wheel, if you will, that the wheel continues to turn without you. But that takes a tremendous amount of dedication to systems, to structure, to really getting through survival, thrival, then mastery of like, okay, if I am the greatest bottleneck to my business, how do I remove me? Like, how do I lubricate myself? That sounds weird, but we can run with that. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather today. But what mastery can open up for you is this idea of to do good work is a commitment to doing good work because you do good work. And think about where your business is focused. Like a lot of times in the survival level of the business is focused on you. I got to make the rent. I got to pay the mortgage. It's an inward focus. And then when we get to thriving, okay, all of your financial needs are met. You're living a good life. And then this idea of mastery becomes this, okay, how can you be of greater and greater service to your client? And what does that look like for you? And then there's this interesting concept too, is that the more money you make means the more value that you have provided. So it is an honorable and right thing to make as much money as you choose. You cannot force your client to do business with you. The only reason why your clients do business with you is because you make their worlds better. You improve their world. Value is always greater than cost. So this begets a question. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and maybe some of you have had this question before in financial services. And the question is, Ken, how much is enough? Like, how much is enough? Now, when someone says that to me, that makes me think about something. Well, how much is enough? Let me frame that question in a different way. If you're a highly skilled heart surgeon or brain surgeon or doctor at any level, how many lives saved is enough lives to be saved? Like when should you stop? Is it after you save 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, 100 people, 1,000 people? I'm done. If what you do, if you see, and that, right? Because when someone's in the conversation, when is enough, that means it's an inward focus. That means your business is about you instead of the service of others. Okay. And then if once you begin to get that what you do is noble and right, and it's for the service of others, then hopefully that provides the impetus as well as the inspiration for you to figure out the hard things so that you can continue to multiply your business, so that you continue to be of service to more and more people. And by the way, for all of you out there, newsflash, it is not easy to make a lot of money.
Hmm.
It is not easy. It is much easier to make a medium amount of money. Damn, but it's a lot hard. It's hard. Literally, it is hard to make millions of dollars a year. It's just the nature of things, right? And one of the strange things out there is that $1 million is a lot of money until you have it. And then you realize, huh, that's really not that much money. Now, here's a scary thing. That revelation continues to rise at no matter what the amount is. It's always that same question. Wow, $100 million is a lot of money. Well, it's not that much money. Why? Because now you know the guy who's got half a billion, or now there's the 9 billionaire guy. We're all weird. But if you're committed to doing what is noble and right, then you get to participate in this amazing thing called business, which is a game that can never be won and it's only played.
Yep.
And if you're playing it from a heart of service, you're playing it to figure things out, you're engaged in this amazing game, that's a pretty cool path. And that path of mastery. And then we next level, well, that's purposefulness. We'll play with that too at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Super coach, I think a concept that we talked about, I believe it was under structure affinity community around affinity, right? Is when you're good at something, you like it and you do it well. And when you're not, you usually suck
Yep.
at it. Right. And I was just talking to a client today. We were talking about, something as simple as wallpapering a bathroom, right?
Mm.
And do you do it yourself
You could save so much
or
money, Gino. How much is wallpaper cost? Like $50 a sheet? 30? I
it,
don't even know.
well,
What is
this
the
this
price of your
stuff,
wall?
this person, she said that let's put it this way: there wasn't a price tag on it that tells you how expensive it was, right? So when you think about this mastery thing, you got to really look at it and say, am I really the right person to do this? Is it really worth my time and money, or do you bring in someone who really knows how to do, who has mastered it?
Mm.
And that's where you have to kind of look at what we do and what financial advisors do. To your point about the value is, you know, clients come to you because you've mastered it. You're the expert. You're the one who's going to help guide them through this. They suck at it and they need help, just like you probably suck at putting wallpaper up. So why would you do it? Hire a master to do it and get it done right.
Bingo. I guess there's a very simple equation we go to. Do you get paid to hang wallpaper? If the answer is no, there's a good chance you shouldn't be doing it. Right? Because why? Because you don't get paid for it. Because if you got paid for it, that means you have a level of expertise, experience, etc. Now, could the wallpaper guy be a fraud? Yes. Yes. But do your research. Like, how did the wallpaper guy get to you? Right? More than likely, it wasn't through the yellow pages. Maybe it's through Angie's list, but more than likely, it was from one of your neighbors or one of your friends. And they said, hey, I got a guy. I'm sort of thinking of a little side thing here for a financial advisor. Why do I need to hire getting results? My company coaches me. My leader will coach me up. Okay, then just simply ask a question. Do they get paid for it? Well, yeah, they kind of, right? They kind of do. Need I say more? They kind of do. It really, once again, it depends on what your level of commitment is. I think one of the fastest way that you can accelerate your world at any level is you hire quality. Right? You have
That's right.
quality come and guide you because it's amazing what our clients have accomplished and how we have helped them get out of their own way and replicate and multiply. Literally have, I think one of the most important things of this idea of mastery concept is that you actually like what you do, right? Do you have a love for the game that you're playing? Like wholeheartedly, man, I love this business. Or is it a grind and you should love the business, but you don't, or you love the lifestyle that it provides, but you don't love the business? I think you're leaving so much on the table by not truly being passionate about what you do and that what you do is noble and right. And if you can't figure out how it is noble and right, then you might need a little bit of a rewiring, if you will, of your brain.
It also goes back to that idea that, if you're not good at something or you're not confident in it and you don't have that mastery, let's call it, then you probably don't like doing it, or you stay away from it because it maybe even bumps up against some operating system or insecurity that you're not enjoying it, so you feel it viscerally. But that leads to that idea of, well, then finding out how to gain mastery in that area is huge. Like, how do you get mastery so that you can enjoy it and be really good at it and deliver on the value or deliver on what you're looking to accomplish?
Like when we went to the little boxing to Marco's gym. And Mark, you should give a shout out to his gym. What was it called?
Yes, Nanton Boxing Club in Newton, Massachusetts.
Yeah, so no Nantum Boxing Club, right? So if you get a chance, you're in Massachusetts, if you can get to go there, take a
NBC.
class, you can literally be in the presence of a master. And when you're in his presence, we want you to notice how he moves, right? Like just how his body moves. You can tell that he's not only very confident in what he does, but he's also very good at what he does. And he also has a philosophy and a system. And and I think one of the most impactful things he said, at least that I heard, was, hey, you're not going to learn all of boxing in one little session, right? We have a process and a system that we will build upon. And the interesting thing for me is back there hitting the mitts and moving a little bit. I realized that I was really, really rusty in boxing,
Mm.
right? Like throwing punches after that. And it's not necessarily easy. But an interesting thing also opened up in my mind, said, well, if I really wanted to get good in boxing, that means I need to train, I need to practice, and I need to get coached. And there was a community or an environment there that I could just easily tap into to improve my boxing skills. And then here's some other plugs. There's also a structure. Not only is there a philosophy to follow and principles to follow, but there's also a physical location with class times at this time and
Hmm.
that time. So a structure. So mastery is a direct result of training, practicing, coaching, community, affinity, and structure, which then also ties into intention, knowledge, and action. And if you've listened to those podcasts in the past, if you haven't, you should, but you can see how all this magic ties together. Because once again, you may wonder, well, why would I want to be master? Like, why would you want to be great at anything when you could just be mediocre and get by? Right? And for some of you, that's cool. Okay, but for most of you listening to this, that's not cool. But to accelerate, once again, it's the idea of training, practice, coaching.
Yeah, Supercoach, I just want to put a plug in for our podcast episodes 46, 47, and 48. All encompass what you just talked about: structure, affinity, community, training, practice, coaching, intention, knowledge, and action. So if you haven't listened into those, you put all those things together, and that's a recipe for mastery in whatever it
Correct.
is you're looking to become a master in.
Correct. That's how you get a black belt in your martial arts. That's how you become a skilled tuna fisherman. That's how you become a great golfer. That's how you become a great
Guitar
business owner,
player, whatever it
guitar
is.
player. Correct.
Yep. Yep.
Correct. The principles are universal because they're human principles. Okay. And if you can understand the basic principles, you can then apply them to anything and everything for
Yeah.
tremendous success.
Yep. So, Super Coach, what would you say to a financial advisor who's looking to gain mastery? What would be the approach or the process to figure out? The question is, so how does one gain mastery? Like, what's that look like for financial advisors, do you think?
I think the fastest thing, simple question, is to simply ask yourself, do you own the business or the business own you? Ask yourself that question and tell the truth to yourself and go look in the mirror. Do you own the business or does the business own you? If it's Sunday evening or Monday morning, are you excited about going to the office or excited about engaging in your profession? Or are you hitting the snooze button? Okay. Or even in your daily work, are you enjoying what you're doing? Is it calling to you? Are you engaged? That doesn't mean everything that you do is you're excited and happy about. But this idea is that do you feel it, right? Do you feel that you are on the noble and right path and that you are tapping into your potential, right? And your greatness is being called forth from you. Now, the easy answer is to say, can you ever truly reach your potential? Answer is no, right? Because like anything else, the better you get, the better you get. But it's more about like telling the truth. Is your path sustainable? Will your path continue you to call you forth? right? Like I had a fast conversation with an investment banker the other day, young kid, and they're doing 90 to 100-hour weeks. I grinded. The thing is, well, how sustainable is that? Now, obviously, you're doing that because it's like a 2-year hazing period, and then the next level comes. But if you really owned your business, would you grind that way? Now, if you've also listened to our stuff, I've also said you're always working, right? No matter what you're doing, you're working. Okay. So does that mean you can work weekends? Yeah, you can work all the time. Like, as a matter of fact, everything that you do counts. And when we play at that level, that, okay, that everything I counts is to improve my practice, right? My business is my dojo, my place for self improvement or the honing of your humanness changes the nature of the game. It helps you get a level of perspective that it's not a grind, it's not a have to, it's a choose to, right? Because it's in that choice which makes you a better human.
Yep. Yeah. I think pointed some things that you can look at is whether it's business or whatever you're looking at is, where's there friction? Where maybe do you feel a little pain? Where does it feel viscerally that you feel there's a gap there or a
Mhm.
loss of skill or ability? That's probably a good place to look for. All right, well, you need to do some work there to gain mastery in that area so that you're not feeling that you're filling that space up with the skills, the ability, the knowledge that you need to be able to execute on it, whatever that might be. Creating a great
Friction.
portfolio to scheduling your time wisely to whatever it is you want to see where the pain points are and then look to where, all right, how do I gain mastery over it?
Yeah. Or another market too is your board.
Yes.
Right? We recently had Groundhog Day. And if anyone remembers the movie with Puxatawny and Phil, Groundhog Day is the day keeps repeating. It's the same day. And if you've been in the business a while, it can get a little boring if you allow it to. So that becomes that next level too, is that you shouldn't be bored with your business, right? Because, hey, that's not good for you. It's not good for your clients. It's not good for your business, etc. But if you come to this conversation, well, I just keep doing the same stuff. I don't see what's on the other side of things. Like how can I make this business exciting and engaging? The reason why you can't see that is because just the same reason you can't see the back of your own head, right? Or you can't see your eyes. And I know some of you are wise. Look, I can look in the mirror. Well, when you look in the mirror, that's a reflection. That's actually not the back of your head or your eyes. So it is very difficult to see ourselves. Like if you're in the forest, the only thing you see are trees. Okay, you don't see the roll of the hill, etc. So it's distance that creates that perspective. So that's one of the cool things about us and coaching is that we help you create what that perspective is to get you re-engaged in the business. And once again, this stuff applies to large producers too. Not just people starting out in the business, is that once again, if you're making a good amount of money, whatever that money is, and all your material needs are met, and all thing you've done is grind, well, why continue? Why not just take your foot off the pedal? Once again, that's a viable choice. Our point would be, well, and that's not necessarily about taking your foot off the pedal, but where you engage, where you call to, where's the tap, what's going to pull you forth, what's going to pull forth your potential. Because if you truly know yourself, sometimes you're really not that motivated to do stuff. But if you're smart enough to how trick
Or do
yourself
it differently.
or do it differently, right? It can begin to pull yourself forth, if that makes sense to anybody. But it's the calling, the tap, that what you do is noble and right. And how do you continue upon your mission?
And it's easy to get stuck. Think about going back to the four phases of the advisor's business. We typically get a lot of people who are in thrival, right?
Hmm.
Got past the survival. And I just had this coaching call this morning, a newer client of mine, and we were just talking, and some of the things he was doing was still things he was doing in survival mode. And it's no, man, that's not going to get you where you want to get to. So we had a great talk about what does it look like now, right? His assets, his clients, his experience, his new skills that he has. That's not no longer needed to be using those things the way he was doing it in the past. Now it's time to, all right, now how do we get you to that next level? Deep into thrival, into mastery is now you got to take it to the next level and do it a different way.
Hmm. It's kind of like if you've grown up changing your oil in your car or your truck. Okay, like if you grew up, your dad taught you how to change the oil, and that you're supposed to know how to change the oil in the trunk, and why would you ever pay anyone to change the oil when you could do it yourself?
Mm,
Okay, which is a lot of conditioning for a lot of us, is why would you ever pay someone something if you can do it yourself? Now, the danger of that thinking is people sometimes forget what their billable rate per hour is, or what is the extractable rate of value for their time or attention. And we often can get lost. It's no big deal if I do it myself. But that begets this question. Is it really? Because here's some fun numbers. If you listen to our stuff in the past, I've riddled these numbers before, right? Fun since we've grown. So if to make $1 million a year and work a reasonable amount of hours, a reasonable amount, all you math heads can go figure this stuff out exactly. But to make $1 million a year, you need to extract $8.05 per minute of value, right? So you have to extract $8.05 a minute of value. But let's go to another level. We have bigger hitters I know listening to us. You want to make $5 million a year. That means you need to extract $40 per minute of value. Okay, now that bit gets a little interesting because if
mm,
it takes you an hour to change the oil of your car, so I think 60 minutes times 40 is 2,400, I believe. And so $2,400 for you to change the oil, or paying the oil guy 100, which, or, Jiffy Lube, $100 when you go through that scam. It makes you think different. Now, we're kind of splitting hairs here. Okay. But yet it's this idea of, where is your attention going? And is your attention at least going somewhere where it's possible to extract $40 a minute of value? Is it possible? Like if I'm changing the oil on my truck, there's zero possibility that I can extract $40 per minute of value of that. Zero. Okay, if I am at the Queen Club with Peter Martin, all of a sudden you're running a probability. Now, probability is much higher for Peter than it is for Super Coach, but it's a much better probability that I meet someone that can change my world, have an impact on the Quinn Club, as compared to changing the oil in my truck. Then now, if we really want to play at the $40 per minute of value, I am speaking on stage at the National Security Dealers Association. I'm talking for a Schwab conference or a Fidelity thing. And all of a sudden, I'm in front of a room of 100 financial advisors, 1,000 financial advisors. Now we're running a really strong probability stack of extracting $40 of value per minute. Now, this is not just about mercenary stuff, right? Being a capitalist is not about just all about money. It's about the extraction of value. Just like if I get to spend an hour of time with my daughter, just having a conversation or having tea, okay, that is some of the most meaningful, impactful things on the planet, right? Or just like the time spent with the coaches this weekend, right? That's tremendous extraction of value. There are no guarantees, but we can stack probabilities, right? Like you can see very simply, the better off or the better getting results coaches are, the better off getting results is,
right.
right? And that just, it's a probability stack in our favor. So it's this discernment of where you're investing time and attention, right? And once again, you'll see with mastery or greatness is a practice. And that's the crazy thing about greatness. And I was reflecting upon that in the gym the other day, where I was watching Navy SEALs clear rooms and stuff. And I'm like, holy shit, these guys are good. Then it kind of hits me. Yeah, it's because they practice. They practice all of the time. When they run missions, they don't just show up and like, okay, where are we going? No, they practice the mission. They lay out, I mean, over and over and over and over again. So hence, what did I say? Eliteness is from practice, which begets this other fascinating question. What are you practicing? Like, what are you mindfully and willfully practicing? Is it client acquisition, or is it client retention, or is it portfolio management? Is it the investment thing? Like where really is that value added that you're running with?
I don't know about you, but when we were doing the boxing, because it's my nephew's
Yeah,
gym. They
yeah,
own it. They've
yes,
been
yes.
doing it for 15 years. right? I used to take classes. I grew up learning how to box and being in boxing with the boys club. But when I was doing it, I was like, all right, this should be good. And all of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap, I forgot how to do some of this. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, why can't I
you're
do
right.
this? Like my brain was aching because I was relearning stuff. And to your point, well, no shit. I haven't done this in a long time. I got rusty. I forgot some of the stuff. I forgot even the simple just balance that he was teaching us, right? And
The
having that
earth, yeah.
solid foundation. And man, it was like my brain was swimming because it was just now I got it. And I was so self-conscious that it was tough to actually
Yeah.
get into it
Yeah.
because then you overthink,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's amazing. But the learning that happened eventually, and then all of a sudden, I started to settle down and started to listen and
Comes
started to
back.
practice it and a little bit more. And he kept repping us and repping us
Mhm.
and repping us. And wasn't it interesting to see how good each of us got on the
You
next
started
rep,
excelling through the
right?
reps, right? And once again, put on top of that more repetition. It's kind of like I haven't shot in a while, and I know there's going to be a conversation. I'm going to go shoot, and I'm going to be like, man, I can't hit. Oh, man, do I suck? And then probably a half hour later, my mind will go, well, Ken, when was the last time you shot? Oh, it's been a few months. Well, once again, like it's the reps.
Yeah.
The good part and the bad part is you always maintain a certain level of muscle memory that it's always there. But mastery and expertise, like tip of the spear level, is from practice. Like once again, the Navy SEALs, the mission that they're going on today, they practiced yesterday. It's not
Mhm.
like they practiced that one 6 months ago. Hey, do you remember when we raided XY village or we cleared this? No, they practiced it the day before to the detail, to a level of detail that blows them.
Yeah. And so I think that really hits home, guys. If you want to get good at something, you want to get to even just good, never mind even mastery, you got to practice. It's reps, it's consistency. We talk about this all the time, right? Consistent activity gets you consistent results. Consistent practice gets you consistently better at what it is you're working at. So if you want to get good at something, you got to practice.
Yeah, it
And
goes back to
yeah, it doesn't just happen.
Yeah, it goes back to Anvil. And that was interesting. So since Anvil, and we'll go back to the Quinn Club and Pete, and I was processing that again, and I was just like, man, there was such a massive benefit to having another set of eyes on what you're doing.
No
Because
doubt.
now I'm going to talk to him about it. We can make his whole twin experience even that, honing it that much more. Okay, what do you do when you bring a newbie into the club? Like, what is the structure for that? Okay, if we have an existing member there, what is the structure for that? Now, some of you may be asking, well, why is it important to have these structures? Now, there's a famous Greek general that I will slaughter the name. It may have been Thericles or Thericlides or he was actually a mercenary Greek fighter. He's got a fascinating history if you could ever figure out his proper name, maybe Euripides. But what he said is that my men never fight to the purported level of valor. They fall back to their
Mm,
highest level of training. Because here's an interesting thing that happens to all of us when you're under stress, you don't think as clearly as when you're not under stress. So unless you have a pre-planned or pre-designated form of action, the stress, that new input can knock you off. But then the only reason why you'd have a pre-designated course of action is because you've decided that would be playing to your benefit. Right? Like with the Queen Club, just fast stuff. As soon as you walk in, hey, you got to point out this clock. Look at the clock. Then you find another piece of art, and right, you tell a fast story about this piece of art. And then we go to the speakeasy. Right? We could do 1, 2, 3, right? And you just you rep it. 1, 2, 3. Right. So now you know what everybody's done. So now everybody that you brought to the Queen Club, so you never have to remember this, is that there are common points of reference that you can talk about now, 3 years later, 4 years later, etc., without you having to remember, oh my God, did I show them this? Did I do that? Did I take them here? See, there's a beauty about repetition, and there's a huge benefit of having super coach in your world at any moment.
love it.
True. True.
No doubt that we don't have eyes in the back of our head. So having a coach, having that master, that expert, whatever it might be, watching and providing feedback and coaching on is hugely valuable. There's no doubt about that.
No
Hugely.
doubt.
Awesome.
No.
All right, Super Coach, as we wrap up today's podcast, any last thoughts or words around mastery?
I think it goes back to greatness is a practice. What do you want to be great at? And when you practice it. Now, once again, if you say, I want to be a great financial advisor, there's a lot of different silos in that one. Pick a silo. And if you've listened to our podcast, you will know that we would push you towards, right? We would push you towards be great at accelerating likability and trust. Right? Become a master of building up or being very clear on what your strategy is and how you accelerate and implement likability and trust. There's 10,000 ways to do it. But if you listen to our stuff, we'll give you advantages. But I swear to God, if you play in those two little fields, your business will take off exponentially. And remember, the more money that you make, the more money you have to pay other people to be efficient. Okay. It's most important for you to be effective. Okay. And then you have staff be efficient. Okay. Effectiveness is for you. Efficiency is for staff or efficiency for anybody other than you. Okay, right, and like I had one of my clients the other day said, well, Ken, it wasn't the most efficient use of my time, but it was very, very effective when I went with my client who's worth $7 million and sat down with their estate attorney for 2 or 3 hours to review the estate. He's like, it wasn't very efficient, but it was very, very effective. And if you don't have that distinction, you'd be like, man, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Smells the smoke. I don't have time for that. Anyone knows that strange YouTube reference from a long time ago? I ain't got time for that. Should Google that one. I ain't got time for that. Fascinating. Gotta love the internet.
Yep, no doubt. All right, thanks, Super Coach. Great conversation today. Everyone, mastery. So give this a re-listen. If you listen to it once, there's a lot of good little tidbits in there, and we do reference some great podcasts that can help you with mastery. And of course, you have us coaches. If you're a client, let's talk about mastery for you. If you're not a client, let's talk about mastery for you and how we can help you. So great job, Super Coach. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast and got value from it, please be sure to follow and share our podcast. Become a subscriber. Hit the like button or give us a rating. We can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, gettingresultsinc.com under resources. And of course, this podcast will be on video on YouTube. So check us out. Tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.